Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, and I'm going to review for you the do now that I assigned for March 18th. So let me show you again. There is a beginning of the do now, which is a worked out example for you. So let's take a look at that first. Again, this says do now of 318. Comparing two functions utilizing different representations. Compare the initial value and the range for each linear function, f of x and g of x, and the models. Number 1, the domain of each function is a set of numbers x such that x is greater than or equal to 0, but less than or equal to 4. The function f of x is defined by the rule f of x equals negative 3x plus 15. The table shows some ordered pairs for g of x. So if you look, x goes from 0 to 4, the same exact domain, and the range goes from 7 to 23. And you can take a look, and the rate of change is negative 4. So that's going to be our slope. So let's take a look at what they want. The initial value when x is 0, f of 0 is equal to 15. If you substitute the 0 in for the x, you get 15. And for g of x, when x is 0, if you look at the chart, you can see that it is 23. So again, just take a look. This is an example. You don't have to do any work. They're just showing you how it's done. And again, I typed this up for you, so this is not, you're not going to find this in a book. The range of f of x is 15, 12, 9, 6, and 3. You also could write them in ascending order, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 if you prefer. And what I've done is I've shown you exactly where that comes from. F of 0 means that you substitute in the 0 wherever you see an x and you solve it. 3 times 0 is 0, plus 15 is 15. F of 1, negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 15, and 15 es 12 is 12. What is f of 2? I have negative 3 multiplied by 2 plus 15 equals 9. So negativo 3 multiplicación 2 son negativo 6. So this gives me the negative 6. Y 15 gives me 9, gives me 9. Moving down, I have f evaluated at 3 and also f evaluated at 4. Okay. Over on this side, what do I know? When x is 0, you get the y-intercept, which is 23. So up here, that is your y-intercept. When x is 0, y is 23. That's the b in the y equals mx plus b. The slope is negative 4 because the rate of change, how do I get from 23 to 19? I go down 4. Negativo 4, negativo 4, negativo 4. And it's a consistent rate of change, so I know it's a linear function. All right, the x's are going up by 1. The function would be g of x is equal to negative 4x plus 23. And then I have a note in here. We could put each into the TI-84 and compare for any x value. You also could open the Desmos application that I've included on your Google Classroom and enter both equations and just compare them that way. Here is my task in Espanol. Okay? And again, the directions are there for you in Spanish also. Now you try. Compare the initial value and the range. Create a model. The domain of each function is the set of all real numbers where x is between negative 4, greater than or equal to negative 4, less than or equal to negative 1. Okay, so to make this is very hard to see just on the paper. So what I did was I made a larger board for you. And so I'm going to go step by step on the board. Okay? So here we go. So here's again our do now review. You have to do problem 2. F of x is given as 2x plus 9. The domain ranges between negative 4 and negative 1. And they want us to evaluate at negative 4. So we plug in the negative 4 for x, we substitute it. We substitute it on the right-hand side. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, plus 9 is 1. Negativo 8 y 9 son 1. Is that okay? Oh, no. The slope of g of x is the change in y over the change of x. Well, how is the y changing? If you go down and you look at the chart, notice I filled in, how do I get from 10 to 9? I'm going down 1, down 1, down 1 each time. And how is x changing? Remember, delta x, triangle x, means change in x. How is it changing? All right, how is it different each time? So I go from -4 to -3. That it corresponds to a change of 1. So if I put -1, división positivo 1, you get -1. And so that's the slope of g of x. They want you to compare the ranges. Well, f of x has a range of y is equal to 1, 3, 5, and 7. Where did I get that from? And again, guys, I do need you to write this on your do now before you take a picture and submit it to me. I have substituted in -3. 2 times -3 is -6. -6 plus 9 is 3. 2 times, f of -2, 2 times -2 is -4. -4 plus 9 is 5. And lastly, -1, negativo uno. So you plug it in and then you multiply. 2 times -1 is -2 plus 9 is 7. And so that 3, 5, 7 is where I got the range right here of 3, 5, 7. Where did the 1 come from? That's when we had substituted in the 4 and we got 1. Okay, so everyone's good on filling that in. What is the range of g of x? Well, the range of g of x is 7, 8, 9, and 10 are the values for y. And where do I get that from? That's also given in the tables. Remember, this is the range. The y's are the range. The x's are the domain. That's a critical understanding for Algebra 1. Okay, so now they say compare them. Well, f of -4, how does that compare to g of -4? It's less than menos que. Why? Porque una es menos que 10. 1 is less than 10. F of -4 is 1. Go back to here, right? F of -4 is 1, and g of -4 is 10. So hopefully, is that clear? Any questions you can ask me. So g of x is equal to -1x plus 6. Where does that come from? The -1 is the slope, and we established that right here. Change in y over change in x is -1. Where does the plus 6 come from? Well, remember the y-intercept always occurs when x is 0. So cuando x son 0, y es igual 6. That's your y-intercept. That will always be your y-intercept. That is the model they are asking you to come up with. And again, I just explained the slope again down here. The bottom of your do now says, tell me all you can about these two functions. This is open-ended. You can fill in whatever you want as a comparison, but I've listed a few things for you. Both of them are linear functions, f of x and g of x. F of x has a greater slope. Well, how do I know that? If I go back to the slope of f of x is 2, right? Y equals mx plus b. And if I look at the slope of g of x, that slope is -1. And so again, dos es más que negativo uno. 2 is more than -1. That's why f of x has the greater slope. F of x has a y-intercept of 9, and g of x has a y-intercept of 6. F of x is an increasing function. G of x is a decreasing function. Those are just some things you could say. You can say the change in y is -1 for g of x, as opposed to the y changing for f of x. Whatever you want to add is fine. I would like to have at least two similarities and 2 differences if you can. Right? They're both linear functions, or at least 4 things either way. All right, guys, you guys have a great day, and I'm going to have the review of classwork coming in next. Keep up the good work. Please do not forget to submit your work to Google Classroom. Have a great day.